Chuck. Tingle. Chuck. Tingle. Chuck. Tingle. Chuck. Tingle.
Hello, I'm Fiona Bruce and welcome to
the Chuck Tingle Book Club.
Oh, yeah. The music's added in post.
I guessed.
If I remember.
So Tom, it's up to you to, you've got to do the intro and you've got to do the description or the legwork on this side. I've already done the legwork. I just have to read. Can I read?
Yeah, well enough so I understand. I've not been briefed.
Okay. Ironically, I will edit this bit.
Yeah, of course.
Right, ready to go?
I'm ready when you're ready.
I'm not ready, let's do this.
Wicked.
So this week on our Chuck Tingle Book Club, we read Slammed by the Substantial Amount of Press Generated by My Book, Pounded by the Pound, Turned Gay by the Socioeconomic Implications of Britain Leaving the European Union by 2 times Hugo nominated Chuck Tingle. Basically, this story...
it's pretty cut and dry, this one.
Cut and dry?
Yeah. I mean, do go, he's trying to write the sequel, goes out for a chocolate milk, comes home, has a letter. The letter's from the actual press of the previous book, gets in the car with him, goes to a hotel. There's some meta shit that happens. They fuck. And then some more meta shit happens.
Yeah, I think that is pretty much it, yeah. Oh, and by the way, the dude's name's Buck Trungle.
Oh, yeah, well, so this is something we've learned. When he's writing meta, when he's writing about himself, he refers to himself as Buck Trungle, which is fun. Is anything else?
We don't... I think your book report, from what I remember last time, gets into some of the meta stuff, but... I'm going to leave it.
I'm all about concepts, not about details. So if you want, Johnny, you know the story now. What was your takeaway from the story? Out of interest,
I mean, takeaway from it, it was very, very ingenious. It was rather damn funny. It didn't seem that deep. It's like narrative wise.
I mean, you pushed past the gag
Did it
reflex.
not, Johnny? Did it not seem deep, Johnny?
I mean, I was tickled by all the meta stuff. My brain then got lost in whether or not it was patter, and then I started thinking about that a bit too much.
I did some research. He doesn't quite
go patter, does he?
He doesn't quite hit patter.
But that's why if you asked me for details, I was lost in thinking about that a bit too much. So
fair enough.
I think the main takeaway from this book is the idea that life can go on beyond what we define as life. It can fall further deeper levels of reality into
what that we are privy
the
to.
Tingleverse. Yeah,
to the Tingleverse.
I mean, do you know what? I think this is something that we didn't bring up the last time we did this, because again, lost episode. But one of the takeaways I've got, having now read or listened to this 7 or 8 times, he's really, really good at writing badly when he wants to.
Oh yeah,
the opening metaphor shit. It's terrible and it's for fun.
No, but I could tell that was clever.
But he can also write really well when he wants to. Every now and then, there are a couple of points where he kind of slips a pun in under.
Oh yeah, for instance,
under the radar.
Come over here and show me what bad press you can be.
Oh, that's not under the radar. This is just only radar.
There's no such thing as bad press.
Oh, yeah, or the first time the substantial press gets his cock out and it's it's massive. It's like, oh, you're so big. So, well, I did say I was substantial.
What a wonderful human being he is.
There's no words.
I mean... I don't want to spoil anything that comes up in the book report. So do your book report and then we'll chat for it a bit after, all right?
Wicked. Okay. Do you know what? For once, I always title my book reports, but I never read them out because I always feel that's going to be over-egging the pudding. But this time, I'm going to do it just for fun. Slammed by the substantial amount of press generated by my book, Pounded by the Pound, Turned Gay by the Socioeconomic Implications of Britain Leaving the European Union, an analysis.
Have you capitalised ANAL?
No! Oh,
you
fuck!
fucking prick.
What am I doing with my life? All right, okay, here we go. As we know, our fair and graceful chief buckaroo, Chuck Tingle, is a practiced master of weaving subtextual explorations of complex concepts into a few thousand words of neo-Dadaist prose and jizz-slop pucker-fucking. And yet, slammed by the substantial amount of press generated by my book, Pounded by the Pound, Turned Gay by the Socioeconomic Implications of Britain Leaving the EU, seems as though it means to swerve this trend somewhat. Buck Trungle, an unobscured Mary Sue, is trying to write a follow-up to Pounded by the Pound when he's contacted by the embodiment of that book's press coverage. The two meet, Buck's ass gets slammed, he comes to accept that the whole thing will now pass. If this seems to you like an author acknowledging and accepting that fame is fickle and fleeting, well, you'd be absolutely correct. And that's pretty much all there is to it. On the surface, at least. So, what else has Tingle Senpai done here?
Tingle Senpai.
Tingle Senpai.
Let's just ruminate on that one for a minute. Okay.
The first and most obvious thing to point out here is that this is no simple even semi-autobiographical work. Tingle has opted to write a meta-dramatization instead. That is, instead of fictionalizing his own physical journey through the hyperactive spotlight of internet fame, we are treated to a metaphorical deconstruction of the emotional processes needed to deal with this episode in his life. There are a number of devices he uses to achieve this, so let's have a look. Firstly, there is the establishment of the characters. As the author's self-insert, Buck Trungle barely requires mentioning. But for the distortion of the name Chuck Tingle, our protagonist matches the author note for note based on the details easily gleaned from his online presence. So let's move on. For our next character, we can start with the very first passage of the work. When it rains, it pours. At least that's what they say. In times of drought, however, it can be easy to forget the storms of the past. Trungle immediately goes on to explain that the rain is not literal, but a metaphor befitting an author such as himself. While this may seem like a simple narrative framing meant to set up the Trungle character, this would be a very anemic reading of the text. Rather, this is setting up both the form and figurative condition of our deuteragonist. Corm Stalls is a swirling mass of newspaper articles and blog posts, and the physical embodiment of Buck's recent press coverage. There are two things to note here. Firstly, the manifestation's presence is a chaos of chattering podcasters and 140-word opinions that is constantly collapsing in on itself. A press storm, if you will. Second, the name Corm Stalls is a simple spoonerism of storm calls. He is a storm that has called upon Buck. There is also, I forgot about this bit. There is also a loose but unmistakable nod and wink here to J.B. Priestley's classic, An Inspector Calls. We have first the character of the eponymous Inspector Gould, who may exist only as a manifestation of the burning family's social guilt. Furthermore, both characters, or what the characters represent, are good examples of what I like to call the whirlwind ephemeral. That is, a short-lived event that turns up unannounced, wrecks shop, and then dissipates into the ether, leaving only its consequences behind. I have no doubt that Chuck yucked himself a mucky little chuckle as he struck that puck of literary fuckery, puckering and suckling on his chocolate milk. Beyond his role as an instantiated metaphor, Corm also serves as the fulcrum upon which the core metaphor is enacted. That's right, it's anal time, as in anal-gy. Analogy. It's time to talk about the analogy. It is, but the text is quite explicit about what's going on here. Buck and Corm want to extend their time together and squeeze just a little more enjoyment out of the situation. The sex here is a representation of writing this very book itself. It's so obviously a culmination of the metaconceptual drive of the story that it would barely be worth wasting the words to mention it, were it not for what it reveals about the opinions of the author. This Gainal Force 5 scene is interesting because it's almost a blow-for-blow, slam-for-slam retelling of the sound pound pounding described in Pounded by the Pound. It actually only differs in a couple of ways. While the acts and positions of the engagement remain in the same order, there is one less position. There is no cowboy. Furthermore, all of the boink splash ends up on the protagonist rather than each participant receiving their share. The exclamations are less overblown, and our protagonist is more practiced and confident. Despite lacking the cowboy position, this is not Buck's first rodeo. All of this builds into something that is overall less special than the original. The effort isn't spent even to create a pastiche of Pounding by the Pound, instead lapsing into wanton self-plagiarism. For what, you may ask, is this just a lazy and cynical cash-in? I think not. When you take into account that all of the gonadal eruptions in the scene end up upon the person of the writer character, what Chuck is saying here is that these sorts of artless capitalizations only really stand to serve the author. Though he is being served by the press and the public by extension, the author in this situation is only really serving himself. Quite the indictment. This barb is only small apples, though. A little something tucked into the work to keep us entertained while he works on the bigger picture. Sorry, the inflection on that was all wrong. My bad. And it's here that we really see the genius behind the role of the Corm Stall's character shine through. Early in the dinner scene at the Grand Billings Hotel, Buck goes through a denouement of sorts, wherein Corm reveals to him that they are characters in a book by Chuck Tingle, and that Buck is a representation of that very author. The character is told, and by extension, Chuck is telling himself that none of this is real. The author here is literally grounding himself against the dizzying effects of the media blow-up, or at the very least, retelling the process he went through in order to keep himself grounded. The difficulty Buck has in accepting the truth and ramifications of all this surely reflects the cognitive dissonance Chuck must have felt between his own identity and the newly formed public perception that resulted from the press storm. This really is the culmination of the metadramatization aspect of the work, but like the sex scene, it's only a grace note leading into the grand chord Chuck is building. During the dinner scene, Corm demonstrates that true purpose. During the dinner scene, Corm demonstrates his true purpose as an agent of the fourth wall. He possesses something called medium awareness, in that he is pointedly aware of the medium that he's in. He doesn't just know that he's a fictional character in a book. He's fully cognizant of being an actor in a Chuck Tingle Tingler, and of being both written and read in real time. To back this up, a tertiary character is introduced in the form of the waiter, who also displays acute media awareness. The waiter is there to console Buck by sharing his own experiences of becoming aware, and to take things even further by talking about direct medium articles, such as stating that this process made him depressed for like 4 paragraphs, and that it's about 2,500 words in to the story, inferring that it's come to the part of the established narrative structure of the Tingler, wherein monologue enters man in frenzied frisson. As a quick side note, we see another device used here. When Chuck agrees to bone down, the other diners in the restaurant immediately get up and leave, and he notices they are trying to seem natural, chatting and laughing as they go, but there is something about it that is nothing short of awkward, too abrupt to make any logical sense. This is a soft form of something called noticing the fourth wall, and demonstrates the acceptance of both the established truth. By the closing paragraphs of this work, it is supported and morphed further. As Buck and Corm enjoy each other's post-coital embrace, Buck sees beyond the mountains, people sitting in chairs, watching them in rapt attention. This, he learns, is an audience listening to a reading of this book in the real world. He has gained a real-world awareness. But is it a real-world awareness? Does this represent something that happened? Something happening in real life? Well, even better, it represents something that was going to happen as a direct result of this work. The name Mark Reeds pops up twice in this story. Entering Mark Reeds, slammed by the substantial amount of press generated by my book, Pounded by the Pound, into YouTube, returns a very positive result. I highly suggest you watch this, for it is the true final chapter of this project. This story is one very much about art imitating life, but Tingle has a grander ideal in mind. All the fourth wall fuckery is not only meant to entertain us, but to set up the true goal. Chuck is obviously aware of the metaphors he's created, as are his audience when they read them. Between he and us, we affected this book. So he needed the metaphors in this book to be fully aware of us so that they could affect us back. It was time for life to imitate his art. I don't want to spoil it for you, so watch the Mark Reed's video and you'll see exactly how this plays out. Why is this important though? Does Tingle need life to imitate his art? Some brief research will reveal a constant refrain running through Chuck Tingle's work and public interactions. Love is real. It's all over his Twitter, it's all over everything. It demonstrates both that art imitates life and that life imitates art. His closing equation. It doesn't matter where you put love, even if you believe it only exists in art, in the unreal, it de facto exists everywhere. Love is real, and this book proves it. Thank you, Chuck Tingle.
Bravo. How many words was that?
That one, I think, was 2.5.
2.5 words. Sounds amazing.
Sorry, 2,500. Sorry, I'm an author. I only talk about words and thousands. Thank you very much.
So you could have just read 60% of the book.
But this isn't bad at like what was it? Pounded by Monday.
Yeah.
I wrote what, close to 3,000 words for that one.
Yeah.
I did shorten this one out a little.
That was very good.
So Johnny, you did English literature as a degree.
Indeed, I did.
What was your thoughts on my
Analysis.
on my book study?
I didn't understand the book until I just heard you read that. In fact, I would have to say, you've opened my eyes and other parts of me I didn't know existed to this work. So thank you very much for that.
Like a gentleman, letting you adjust to his girth.
More like a scholar, I'd think.
No, I mean, I like to think like a gentleman because I made him watch the Mark Reed's video rather than read it. So that was like putting like a finger or two in first, and that was me just ramming it home.
Okay, perfect.
Gave him time to stretch and adjust.
Yeah.
Like a gentleman.
Johnny, give the boy a grade.
A grade?
Yeah. He's waiting there with bated breath.
Is it a first? Is it a third? Is it a 2 something? It can't be a
Is it
2.
cheeky Desmond?
Is this going to break the friendship?
Is it cheeky Desmond?
This is a cheeky Desmond, Johnny.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of reference to other literature, which is kind of necessary.
Oh, he did Inspector Calls.
Oh, that's true. You referenced the one A-level book you read. Well done.
I didn't.
Wait, I thought that's what all-
GCSE, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought that's what all literature students did.
Damn it!
Also, like no, Inspector Calls was Sats. I did.
Was it?
You defend yourself, sir.
I did. What was it? I did Dorian Gray for GCSE.
Okay.
And thank fuck I did.
I the intention was not to
More
mock. I was led towards mocking. And no, the thing about life imitating art and art imitating it right back, or was the other way around? I can't remember now. But
Yeah, no, it's both ways.
that was very nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I would just encourage you to read slightly slower so I can appreciate it more. But apart
Read
from that,
slower?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apart from that, I liked it a lot.
I'm still unused to like reading through a page, so I guess
It's just one of those things. If you think you're slow, read slower. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. But it takes me a while to take things in. So yeah,
Right.
that's all.
I mean, at this point, I'm kind of used to like podcaster speed, which is
Well, speak fast enough and hope they don't hear us.
yeah, exactly.
With
But yes, no,
background
cheers.
noise.
So we're going to do the rating now, Tom.
I'll give you.
I'm just trying to open
I'll
up
give you.
the-
I'll give you a 71 for that, perhaps.
Oh, that's a
That's an A. That's an
That's
A,
a
yeah.
first, isn't
That's
it? Yeah, lovely. Well, it's a first at grad level, undergrad level,
I mean,
bachelor's level.
I haven't been beyond that.
At masters, it goes up.
Does it?
Oh wait,
now?
no, hang on.
I don't know.
Was it 50% apart? Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, let's review the book.
Do you want to just say
Absolutely,
thank you? I think
absolutely.
that's what you were going for.
So
Thank you, Teach.
I do have the results from last time still, but I want to see if it matches up. I don't want to
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
taint our current feelings on the book and what we felt just before the New Year's. We're in a different world. Things have happened. We need to move on.
Yeah, I mean, like that tape. I mean, yeah, don't want to take it. That's been there for a while. It'll be smelly.
So, for those that don't know, we are running the Tingletron 4000. All scores are final. We are judging it on GameSpot equivalent scores. So rather than graphics, story, gameplay, value, reviewers tilt, and overall score, it is looking at the Tingle instead of graphics, cover art, Getting to the tingle, the pacing of the story. Giving you the tingle, the sexiness, that's the gameplay. Saving you some tingle, value for money. And reviewer's tilt is the tinkle tilt. Ooh-ah.
Ooh-ah.
I added the ooh-ah just for...
I mean, if in doubt, add ooh-ah, sure.
So first up, graphics. So all of us can now look at the cover art, and I'm going to say
Bad.
that is not descriptive of Korn in the slightest.
Not in the least. That's a pile of press, but it's not collapsing in on itself, and it's not particularly pretty.
And there's no 140 character reviews there that I can see. No blog posts.
No, only broadsheets.
And what disappoints me more, no substantial rod.
But the fact
then,
he's going for deceptively deep, right? As in, it should on the surface appear shallow and insufficient, when in fact it's a lot deeper inside. So I think he's rather faithfully recreated kind of the multifaceted nature of his work.
But it's not hot.
Yeah, it's not.
That's the thing. Like
okay, that's a fair point. That's not hot. That's not what he was previously arguing.
For an Oscar, it's bad.
Book's not hot, bruv.
But as comedy representation, he does his job. That's why he gets a 2. But it's not hot.
2 out of?
We're going for a 2, are we?
Cover's not hot. Yeah, I reckon that's a 2.
Is this out of 5?
Sorry?
I'll go for a 1 out.
You go for a 1 out of that?
So we'll do an average of all of us, so...
I
2?
mean, this is I like it.
Okay.
3.
I kind of liked it as well.
Yeah.
What's your score then, Sil?
I think, can I go 2.5?
2.5, yeah, that'll make math easier.
The average of 3, 1, 2, and 2.5.
I'm 2. Yeah.
We'll call it 2.
Call it 2.
Cool.
I've just realised why I felt so awkward reading the essay that time.
Why?
There was no interjections. Usually, you'll stop me. At a point.
I thought I wasn't supposed to.
Do you know why?
The thing is, the first time we did this, and I was kind of reading my thing, and you were interjecting, I was getting annoyed that I wasn't I just want to read this. That time, when all there was just me reading it, was bad, and I didn't like it. Stop me.
Because we've literally just watched the Mark Reed's one where the panellists keep fucking interjecting at the fucking climax.
Well, it might be that. But I just thought it was you reading something, and therefore it would be rude to interject. It may have been because of that, but just in general.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'll start putting your thumb up anytime there's a paragraph break or something.
Yeah, or we'll have 3 printouts at least, and we can all just read along with you. That'll probably be the easiest way to do it. Although we'll probably spoil it and start giggling before you say anything.
I'm fine with that.
No, that's nice because we can get our jimes ready. That works.
Also, it might be nice to actually, that's a cool idea. I do the writing.
Send it out.
Can we all read it?
And give someone else, give it to the guest to read.
At the same time, like a choir.
Let's each do a bit, and then the last paragraph we can read together.
At the same time, like a choir.
Well, the last paragraph we can read together like a choir.
I love how the pot topic.
The last
shit
paragraph we can do a
we
word
don't really
each.
give a shit about, but we carry on trying to develop this bit.
This bit is our life.
This feels right to me. This feels like home.
Speaking of which, getting to the tingle, the pacing of the story. Now,
so we're looking at the actual book, not Taz's essay on the book.
No, we're looking at the book.
The actual.
So this one, it's.
Oh, by the way, this is all out of 5. Obviously, I forgot to mention that.
I did ask. It's not pacey, but it does flow. So
I'm going to say
I think a 4.
A good, gentle. I'm going to probably go 5. I think it's fine. I think it's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Yeah, all right. I'm happy to go with 5.
I think he was the introduction was a little bit too waffly for me. There was
True.
There was a little bit too much of him talking about I've got to write, which didn't. I don't know. 4 to me is fine.
As I explained in my essay, it was important for him to set up the storm metaphor.
Oh, you can set it up,
but then there's also the waiter scene. That's what I'm going to give it the extra bonus point for, because
the waiter scene where he just goes, is my favourite character by far.
And then just goes, oh, by the way, you're about 2,500 words into this already. Should we get down to the fucking? That is good pacing.
As someone who's kind of like a tourist in this book review, because I haven't read the book, this reminds me of school actually, I'll give it a 1 just to fuck with your statistics. Woohoo!
Brutal. I'm happy to go with 5 actually. I really like the pacing.
I'm like 5.
I could be convinced on a 4 because
I'm 4.
It's like a slow, very slow. But
when it gets going, my God, it's good.
Yeah.
So I think that averages out about 4.
Call it 4. Yeah. 2 5s, a 4, and a 1. I don't know what that is. I can't do quick math. Man's not hot.
Giving you the tingle, the sexiness, the gameplay.
I remember getting a full-blown painful to wear trousers erection when I was reading this the first time.
Really?
But I was hungover, so it doesn't take a lot to get me going when I'm hungover.
That's
and
true.
I was at work, so I didn't have the... I mean, if I hadn't been at work, I probably would have just gone bashed one out.
Don't you have your little like man cave at work to do that in?
That I
Do you,
share with
Johnny?
other people.
Oh, you said you've only described it as yours.
thought
It sounded quite isolated and above people.
I thought you
that'd be
meant-
the ideal place to
I
knock
thought you
one
meant
out.
on the fly floor. Yeah, just jizzing onto actors.
I've thought about it time and time. I literally can't bring myself to like wank in a space that's got like an open side. the entire stage could hear, possibly.
Johnny, you said that as such a standard thing. Do you have one in your school where you teach children? You have your own wank cave?
No.
He also doesn't teach children.
Not at this
Oh, I
school.
thought-
No, he teaches adults.
Oh, okay,
As-
fair
as
enough. Then
said.
it's okay to have a wank
on.
cave.
Yeah, right.
It's in the contract. If our teacher needs to do a fuck on you, it's just how it works.
Yeah, that's exactly how they phrase it in an English language school. Teacher gonna do fuck on you now.
This is how we keep business going, all right? We teach them the wrong English and then they come back. It's fine.
I'm going to say this one again. You mentioned it in your review. Is missing a position.
No, but yeah,
There are some good puns.
I think
When you say it's missing a position, is it
that's-
missing? It's probably missing more than one position. Right? Are there core positions you?
I
tick
also-
on?
it's more than.
I also think the fact that
Okay.
I also
the
think
pacing of the original.
I think the fact that we literally read this almost exact sex scene before, kind of that's got to knock a point off. So I'm 3. I could be convinced on 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Knock a point off should be new slang, really, shouldn't it?
or a character in the book. Knock a point off.
Or no, just start referring to wanking as leveling up.
Dinging. I think mine's a 2. If you're going, yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I mean,
based on the previous scores of having a full-on have to go and bash one out as being a 5 and 0 being felt nothing. But the
I'll go
full breeze.
3.
I remember getting like a proper stonk onto this
Substantial
one. But that might have been some part of the meta enjoyment, I guess. But yeah,
Still?
so I'm going to go for.
So
I go for 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're straight down the middle then, aren't we? That's a 3.
3. Yeah, sure.
Straight down the middle.
Saving you some Tingle value for money. I think the fact that you can actually just go watch Mark Reed read this.
But
How much is it anyway?
I mean, it's only like $2.99.
yeah.
Okay.
But also, the thing to consider is, in order to get the most out of this, you do need to get read Pounded by the Pound first, just to kind of. I mean, it's you can read this without that. Just know about Pounded by the Pound in as a nebulous abstract.
Yeah.
But to get the most, you need to read Pounded by the Pound, which kind of effectively doubles its cost.
Yeah, and also know the impact that book had on his career. Because that's obviously the one that really
But
blew
it
up.
does seem like once you've read one, you're sucked into this way. Tingleverse, and then there's
I'll
this
be honest,
whole lot of other stuff that you get out of
we
it.
drew
We
this
should have
one
called this
completely by
segment
random.
Sucked into the Tingleverse.
Yeah.
Do you know what I liked is the book review we did before this. I
Monday
thought,
pounds me in the butt.
Yeah. I made mention of the Tingleverse, and just that was just the way I decided to talk about his books. And in this book, he makes explicit. I love it. Tingleverse is a thing.
So
I 3. I think.
yeah,
I think for this one 3. Pounded by the Pound is a definite 5. This is a 3
I'm
because
happy
you
with the
need
3.
You
need to have read the previous.
It would
It's
be
the average cost.
It would be the one, but for the Mark Reed shit and now this podcast.
But again, we do get another free book included in that $2.99.
I mean, I think that's just going to be standard. So we need to stop including that in there.
Okay, 3. Straight down the middle.
Unless we just agree, value for money is always 2 as standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.
3.
I'm
fine.
happy with 3.
Poundland stuff.
Poundland?
Yeah.
Pounded by the pound in Poundland?
Yeah.
This is the big one. This
Pounded
is the,
by Poundland.
This is the reviewer's tilt. This can affect quite substantially.
5. Just everything
Wait,
fuck
so
off.
what is this?
This is, I mean...
This will add.
What
Hang on,
is
let me
this
just
category?
make sure what the numbers
got
actually
overexcited.
worked
He
out
did.
as. So 5 divided by 2.5.
So reviewers tilt is we're
divided
able
by
to give it like a 1 to
2.5.
5 score in order to bring like if we think
2.
It can basically add 2. If you give it 5 points, you can add
What
2.
is the category?
It's reviewers tilt. It's just general feeling about it.
It's like a veto.
It's
like
if you
rating,
feel like
kind
the
of.
score is not good enough, you can add.
So
you can boost it or shoot
to,
it down.
to give
sure.
you like
That's what
some
GameSpot
explanation,
is.
like GameSpot, like they found that if you rated games on like say the graphics were bad, the sound was bad, but the gameplay was wicked, like the reviewers tilt was in there to like bump the average score.
Sure.
Because otherwise, they would
It would get
there
quite
be
low and it
yeah,
wouldn't be fair.
exactly.
No, I understand.
And currently, we are on a 4.8
Out of
10.
5. Out of 10. Mm-hmm. I think you've bugged up the maths on this,
No,
but
full
whatever.
score. Full score.
Like, I'm a 5.
I thought it was 1 out of 5.
I'm a 5.
No, all the scores,
Oh.
all the segment scores
Are out of
are out of
5.
5. The final score is out of 10.
Why?
Because that's how GameSpot did it.
Okay.
Hey.
They did the things. It doesn't matter.
Since when have you like
5.
been deferent to
Just
games?
everyone shut up. 5. It gets a 5
Okay.
because it's genius.
Okay.
It's not just life imitating art and art imitating life. It's art creating life. And,
And it's fun.
amazing.
And with that, we have the final 4 score 6.8. Our lowest scoring book so far.
But it's the best one. I don't know.
Mate, you shot down a lot of that. You're the
Yeah.
main reason that it fucked up. So
Yeah.
shut up.
To be fair, it's higher than we scored it last time. Last time we got a 5.4. Oh yeah, the Tingle score's supposed to be fine, aren't they? Shut up. We never did it before.
I'm confused.
But
Daz.
so this is the thing. Like if it's got a shit cover, that could just kill the score a lot. And I personally think that's
Did the first
unfair.
one have a great cover then?
It kind of did actually. Pounded by the Pound has
yeah.
a fun cover for
That's
sure.
an amazing cover.
Oh, yeah?
And
Okay.
Monday Pals Me in the Butt's all right.
Also fun because it's very bright and lovely.
Yeah.
I still haven't
It's
seen
the look of the guy coming out of the bedclothes like he's got a hangover. He really sells a hangover.
I still haven't seen the book cover for our next one, which is
Hang on.
Unicorn Butt Cops Beach Patrol.
Don't take a sip of that time, Johnny. You never take a sip.
Oh, that was amazing. Like watching your glasses steam up in real time as well, Johnny. That was awesome.
It's all about unicorn butt cops.
And you know what? If you're kind of done with like the meta bullshit and like the serious bullshit, that's fine. The next book is all for you. It's mostly fucking.
Some say that love is the soul of books, and what better way to show a little bit of love than with a free gift? Here is your Tingle. Here to tingle you to the core is a bonus story for your reading pleasure. Unicorn Butt Cops Beach Patrol.
It's fun.
It's included in the previous book if you've already bought it. If not, you can buy it separately as well.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, because it was a 2016 book. Or was it 2014? I think it was 2014, actually, that one. So there may even be an audiobook of it if you want to get
quite
involved.
possibly.
So have a look. It's fun.
right,
It's
cool.
a fun one. It is mostly fucking, but it's fun.
We all tingled out?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Cool. Right. Well done, all.
Yay!